So, good morning to everybody. Thanks for being here for the third days. And today we have the keynote lecture of Sven Olof Collin of the Free University of Scania, and he will explain what Free University of Scania I just learned in the few minutes. So. Thank you very much, Sven, and we will see.
Okay, thank you. I don't like to have the mic, but I assume that you need it so you can hear what I'm saying. So my name is Sven Olof Collin. I'm a professor of corporate governance, and sometimes I'm also professor of accounting. I was presented as from the Free University of Scania, but I'm not employed at any university anymore, so I'm a totally free academic. But I am affiliated professor of Kharkiv University of Humanities. Yeah. The People's Ukrainian Academy, my beloved university. So whenever you have the opportunity, you should go to Kharkiv, you should visit this university. I'm sure that it will steal your heart as it stole my heart. But I'm also then the Free University of Scania is my own creation. It is not a recognized university. In Sweden, you are allowed to create what you call university. So I created Free University of Scania because that's my way to say that academia today is too much restricted. And if you Google Free University of Scania, you will find a homepage of Free University of Scania, and then you can learn more about my small creation. So my history, let me say two things. Look around, look at each other. We are the brave ones. We have survived 2 days of a conference and we are here for the third day. So we are the big ones, yeah, right. And I also, if there is anyone from the organizers, thank you very much for the social dinner yesterday. At least at my part of the table, we became very social. So, the history for me is that you are looking now at probably one of the very few, if not the only one, professor in business administration in Sweden that has been fired. Because I was fired last year. And you are probably looking at the only professor in Sweden and maybe in the rest of the world that has been fired because of sustainability. I wonder if I was invited of that reason. The story, well, and I will continue talking about sustainability, but I will enter into family business because that is what I'm doing research about. And I think that family business is well adjusted to sustainability, not because it's the modern form of organizing economic activity, but because it is an antique governance form. It's an antique form. That's why it's so well suited to sustainability. Now the story of my end of the academia was that I was employed at Kristianstad University, and the rector and the decan and the prefect, the dean it's called in English, the top managers, they said that because they are very engaged in environmental thing, they belong to the Green Party and all these things, so they have very strong political activities in environmental issues. They decided at Kristianstad University, all the business programs, where I was a professor, should integrate these Prem champions, the sustainability, the UN's 70 global sustainable development goals in the education. It should be integrated in the education. And I said, over my dead body, I mean, we are not a political institution. We are an academic institution. We convey knowledge. not values. And even if I myself, as political idea, I can support many of those values that are inherent in the United Nations Sustainability Developmental Goals, it is not for me to indoctrinate students in thinking about them as something that is knowledge. So I refused. I said, and we had a long debate on internally, and then it went into a local newspaper. I wrote a debate article, very strong debate article, saying that neither the king, the prime minister, the archbishop, and the rector together can tell me what to tell the students. Academic freedom means lehrfreiheit. And then the rector said, well, no, it will not be over your dead body, but you are fired. Because you will resist our regulation that you should have this integrated. So 3 months later, after I wrote this in the local newspaper, I was fired. And 3 months later, this text that you can read on the top was exposed on the web page, and then they implemented this thing that all the teaching should be ingrained with these sustainability goals. So that's why I'm fired, because of sustainability. But no, not really sustainability, but the idea that it should be indoctrinated in students. But I don't mind to teach about sustainability. I teach a lot about sustainability because if you are a professor in corporate governance, if you're a professor in accounting, of course you teach a lot about sustainability. It's part of the voluntary disclosure. Now it's even regulated, so we teach a lot. We tell students how to make presentations in report about sustainability, because that's reality, and we teach about reality. But we don't teach about goals. So we teach. So I teach about sustainability, but not in sustainability. I teach sustainability as something that exists, not as values. So don't get me wrong. I'm not an evil person like that. And then I have to look into my papers, because since I believe that something can be sensitive, I have to be sure that I don't say too many wrong things. But then if we now talk about values, I am a carrier of values, but I try to not reveal them for my students. I'm, you could say, an orthodox democratic socialist, what is called social democrat in Sweden. That means that I have the value of modernism, that I still believe in this linear development. The modernists, they believe that yesterday was not as good as it is today, and tomorrow will be even better. And it's linear development. That's a nice thought. And if you have these kind of thoughts, if you are a modernist, then you get a little bit confused and irritated when you read the definition of sustainability, because sustainability is against modernism. I have the definition of sustainability as given by the Brundtland Commission. And it said development that meets the needs of the present world without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. If you are a democratic socialist, you don't like that statement, because what I would like to do is I would like to compromise the abilities of the future generations. I would like them to have future opportunities, not my opportunities, but even more, bigger opportunities. I would like to enlarge opportunities for the next generation. So I would really like to compromise. I would really like to influence the future for the next generation. So as a democratic socialist, you think that the Brundtland, the sustainability idea, is a little bit conservative. So, I have written down everything I would like to say, but I cannot read because it is not dark, so 50% of my planning is out the window. So let's continue, and I try to remember. Modernism sounds very good, that the future should be better than today. But there is a dark side of modernism. The dark side of the modernism is, for example, the Holodomor. Holodomor was the Holocaust, 10 years before the Holocaust. It was Stalin. Well, this is a controversial statement. Not all people in Russia would agree. But Stalin, he put starvation in Ukraine and some other places in the 32, 33. He wanted, the Ukrainian, they are always looking for independence, so they are kind of revolutionary. He wanted to repress them. And then he wanted all the grains from Ukraine, because Ukraine is very strong farming land. So he thought that I have two objectives, I can do it with one thing. I take all the grains, all the food from Ukraine, and I bring it to the cities where there are workers in the industry that needs food. And I take the food and I send it to the West, I sell it to the West so I can get currency, so I can buy machines from the West. Because Stalin, he saw that USSR was a retarded industrial nation, and he wanted to develop USSR. And this was one of his means. In order to develop it, he bought many machines for the price of these people that are dying in the streets of Kharkiv, because they didn't get any food. And he was very successful. USSR was a very success story. After all, they were the ones that put Laika, the dog, in orbit around the globe, and they put a man, 1961, before America, in orbit, so it was very successful. So they enlarged really opportunities for people in USSR. But this is the price. And that's really the dark side of modernism. It's an awful price. And I ask you, if you don't know anything about Holodomor, please go home and read about it, because that is the Holocaust before the Holocaust. It's not so well known, but it was about between 3 and 5 million people that were killed because Stalin wanted an industrial country, Russia. But then we have the bright side of modernism, I think, and that's of course my country, Sweden. This is a photo from Sweden, 1960. Sweden was on its height in the 60s. That was when we had created the welfare state. We had really no problem. If we were sick in anything, then we went to the government and the government took care of us. So that was the height of the welfare state. We then also got large international corporations that were operating all over the globe. It gave us a lot of export revenues. And then we had also these large corporations. In the beginning, they were governed by families. But in the 60s, the families disappeared. They couldn't manage these large corporations. So the family capitalism of Sweden disappeared during the 60s. And of course, the Marxists, they thought, yeah, great. Because, as you know, if you are an economist, you have read the third book of Das Kapital, chapter 27, I don't remember the page, where Marx is writing about the huge corporation. That is the first step towards communism. Because a huge corporation, that is when you have professional managers. You don't have a capitalist that is walking around, a family capitalist walking around and being very nervous. Oh my God, this is risky, I shouldn't do this. No, you have professional managers that know how to take risk. And you don't have owners that are walking around in the factory. No, they are at the stock market. That is the first indication of socialism, according to Marx, because you socialize ownership. The ownership becomes in the hands of people, not capitalists. So that is why the joint stock company, in chapter 27, you should read it, it's funny, where the corporation is hailed as the first indication of communism. So it's not a revolution by proletarians. The joint stock company is the sign of the socialization of capital. So Marx would love our big corporations today if they are not governed by families, because families are bad. Family business is bad because they are not so risky and they're not professional. But in the 60s, we got the diminish of the family capitalism in Sweden. And then it continued. We got a huge deregulation, we got a huge privatization, we got right-wing government in Sweden. We joined even the Union, 94 I think it was. We haven't joined the euro because our currency is so beautiful, because we have a photo of our king on it, so we cannot leave it. Then Sweden went into a major crisis, and we have now a crisis because we have this immigration, the refugee crisis from 2015-16 that it has created ghettos and things. But we have two ladies. 1945, the lady to the right up here, Pippi. Pippi was a nice lady that helped everyone with her money, and she was always laughing. A little bit more serious person appeared 2 years ago, Greta. She was sitting outside our parliament and made demonstration. For us teacher, it was a little bit revolting. Yes, her message is very good. We should take care of the future. But she is demonstrating on Fridays. She should be in school. But okay. And now she has become so famous, she's traveling over the ocean on ships. That is not like Titanic, they arrive. And I really like her, even if she now travels in first class. What she is saying is that you should consider the future, and she's really making it strong. We can debate everything about her age and all these things, but I think that still she is the symbol of the future. So in a way, I'm proud of Pippi and I'm proud of Greta that, yeah, we Swedes make a difference in a weird way, but at least in a way. And Greta should, if she would be sitting here, she would really enjoy all your effort trying to understand how it can be made more sustainable, and maybe not circular, but sustainable. No, I don't. Yeah. But what happened in Sweden is also that the family firms, they survived, and now we have family firms. We have families that are controlling large corporations, and of course they are controlling many of the small corporations. So family firms, they survived. And I'm here in order to tell you that I think that they will survive even stronger, because they have an essence that is well fitted to sustainability. Maybe not circular, but sustainability. But then look at our university programs. In our university programs, we teach a lot about sustainability, of course, and then in Kristianstad they also teach in sustainability. Hallelujah! But who teach about family business, about family firms? In Sweden, we have the tradition to teach about the large corporations, the corporations that Karl Marx liked. And we don't teach about those corporations that Karl Marx didn't like, the family firms. There is one university, Jönköping University, they are the only one in Sweden that really teach about family firms. And that's really strange, because family firms are so frequent, and they are quite dominating in the flow in economics, but we don't teach about it so much. And I think that is the dark side of Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist says, care about sustainability, yes, but family firms, they are very important, but we don't pay attention to them. And I think that we should pay attention to them, and I'm sure that there will be more attention because they are more fitted to sustainability. So, what do we teach? When I was sitting thinking, what should I tell people here? Well, look what we are teaching. This is the first, second class in capital budgeting. In the first year of a business program, we teach about net present value. Look at net present value. Here I have just included cost of restoring, because you have cost and you have revenues, but then if you make a factory, you have to restore the soil afterwards when you tear the factory down. So that's the cost of restoring. And this is the formula. Everyone that have been trained in business administration knows how the formula of net present value. And look, I have an example. The cost of restoring is 100. It will happen 20 years from now, and we have the internal rate of return that is 10%. That means, through calculation, that we will value the cost of restoring that is 100, we will value at 14.9. Imagine what would Greta have said? What are you doing? There is a cost of 100 and you value it as 14.9? It's my future of 100 that you are talking about, and you give it the value 14.9. Of course I can understand that my future is really at risk, because you value my future 100 at the price of 14.9. So my future is not so highly valued. And therefore I think if someone is having no research project, could you please try to make research about how family firms make their capital budgeting? Because they have other incentives and they have other goals. They have a more long-term goal. So maybe they think not of net present value, what is it worth today, but they think about an investment, what it will be worth tomorrow in the future when my children takes over my corporation. So maybe why not create net future value? That would be the Greta calculation, I think. And so I oppose the ideology of sustainability, and that's why I'm fired, but I know that we are smuggling out ideology in our education today, and we as an academic, we have to pay attention, we cannot avoid it, but we have to pay attention to it. Wow. So, maybe it is like this, that family firms, they are champions of sustainability, that they have characteristics that are very well fitted to this conservative idea of sustainability. Yes, because they have the goal of social emotional wealth, they are paternalistic, and they are nepotistic. These are antique ideas, but they are well fitted to sustainability. And I will try to indicate it. Social emotional wealth. Look here, to the left is what we traditionally teach students, while corporations are here in order to create profit for the shareholders, and they have a goal equation saying that you should have the optimum of the shareholder profit. It's not the profit of the corporation, which the accounting system can take care of. It's the profit on the stock market that is of importance. So you have to think about the corporation and how the stock market reacts, and there you get the profit of the corporation. And that is why corporations exist. Yes, it's almost linear. Then on the other side is the social emotional wealth. It says that family firms, they are not run in order to create profit. Profit is a mean to achieve the goal of a family firm. And the goal is this socio-emotional wealth, and it contains a combination of identity, that the corporation should have the identity of IKEA, for example, that is a family firm now. It should have the possibility of succession, that we can give it to the next generation. That is a goal in itself, so it has to be sustainable, it has to be long-term. And then we have to have the power. The family have to control the firm, otherwise it's not really a family firm. So the goal contains 3 different characteristics. And in the middle is the family, because the family is the objective of the family firm. That is totally different, and you see it's almost circular, huh? It's not a linear, beautiful, modernistic thing. It's the circular that we have been talking about 2 days. Then we have the paternalism of a family firm. If you attend education in business administration, you will get a lot of human resource management strategy, how to make cohesion in groups and all these things. And that is well fitted for the Marx big, huge corporation. It's not fitted for the family firm. In family firms, you have paternalism. You have a pater that takes care of everyone. Those that are employed in the family firm, it's an extended part of the family. Yeah, I have an example. I've done studies about family firms. There were one family firm, I interviewed the CEO, and he said that he had to go to the hospital. So he went to the hospital and then he came back. The story is that one of his employees, a young man, he was driving like a young man, you know, without any content in the head. So he was driving the lorry and it crashed. So he went to the hospital. And the CEO, he was not angry on this young idiotic man that was driving like an idiot. He took care of this young man, and the reason he said to me was that he's young, he's now soon getting married, he will start a family, I have to make sure that he is all right. So every day he went to the hospital in order to say, hello, how are you? And I couldn't hear any sound from him saying that, you are a stupid idiot that were driving like an idiot. That is a pater taking care of his chiefs and in the firm. And he was, if I said that, you will score high on social responsibility, you will score high on social sustainability. And he would say, no, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm doing what a human being is doing. So that is paternalism. We don't teach it. We don't teach paternalism. Do you? In your schools? But that is, you can find in many family firms, this way of taking care of people. And then when I was preparing for this speech, I was looking at, you have this sustainability. It tends to be always the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. It's always the Trinity of things. Social, economic, environment, and other trinities. And then when we look at family firms, we also tend to create trinities. Here is the combination of the family, the ownership, and the firm. This is the trinity of family firm. And as you can see, it's circular, it's not linear, so the modernist idea is apparently not an idea that is a good idea in order to describe a family firm. It's a good idea to describe a Marxist firm, the joint stock company that you can buy shares on, but in family firms, no, it appears to be a circular. And look, next, when I teach about corporate governance of capitalistic firms and of family firms, I show this to the left, that's the capitalist firm. Yes, you have the principal, that's the shareholder, and they restrict people through appointing people at the board, and the board restricts people through appointing the CEO, the agent. It's totally linear. The power goes from the shareholder through the board down to the agent. And then look at the family firm. Now we are back in the circular movements again, and we have the Holy Trinity again. We have the principal, that is the family, the board, that is dominated by the family, and the agent, those that are on the top management team. Typically there are one or two, at least, family members. So they impregnate the firm. Again, I think that there is some indications that yes, it's an old-fashioned way of organizing economic activities, but it's well suited to this idea of sustainability. Of one reason, that it's not linear. So I think that sustainability is inherent in the family firm constitution. I just told you about social sustainability, the paternalism. When we look at family firms, they have a very low level of employee turnover, and that normally is considered to be an indication of a social sustainable organization. And then I have supervised many master dissertations about reporting, social reporting. And family firms, oh my God, they are very bad at reporting about social sustainability. They are very bad at social reporting, at least in Sweden. And I think that is because they are a family business. I have I visited one factory of a family firm, and we walked around, and people were working like idiots like this, and then there was one guy standing, working very slow. I think that, well, he has some handicap that makes that he's not working so fast. So I asked the family business CEO, the partner of the family, that you have this person employed and you get the money from the government in order to pay the salary so he can get to work. And he looked at me really, this was 3 years ago, he looked at me, what? Do you think I can get money for this? And then, yes, don't you get the governmental support for this? And then he got almost irritated. No, he's a lad from the village, and no one would employ him. So I have to employ him. I mean, he has to have a work. Okay, so that I think is an indication of very high level of social responsibility. He would score extremely high on social sustainability. In the annual report, it would be a photo of the boy and a lot of written things. But for him, he couldn't understand that this is something that you can report about because this is what you do. This is not something that you should do. It's just what you do. So that's why I think that if you inspect the reports from family businesses, they are not so good at reporting because they don't see the social character of the family firm. They don't see as something that is interesting to report because it's the essence of the family firm. At least in Sweden, because that's where I done. And then the really antique thing with a family business is its character of nepotism. Now in Italy, everyone knows what nepotism is. Yes, it's the weird behavior of an ancient practice, but not in family, well, in sort of family business in the Catholic Church. When the Pope gave positions to relatives, their own sons and daughters also. And a pope, per definition, cannot have sons, but in Italy, well, since you have twice as much moral as we have, since you have, it's possible. You know, I taught in Belarus, and the dean was sitting there, and the dean's daughter, that happened to be a professor of this department, was sitting there, and I was talking about nepotism. I had nepotism in front of me. They didn't get any insult out of it because they don't understand, they don't know what nepotism is. And they are living nepotism, but they don't know the name. But you know, so I don't have to define it. But that is the essence of family firm, and that is maybe the competitive advantage of family firms, to be nepotistic. And the nepotism is maybe one of the characteristics that makes family firms more sustainable, following the ideas of sustainability. And that is because they put an emphasis on generation, and nepotism have implications for gender distribution of top management positions. So I will try to run through it. I have a PhD student that now is finalizing her dissertation about family firms. But she's doing it at the same time when she's taking over the family firm. She is a family firm in the 7th generation. So she's assuming now a management position, very high in the corporation. She hasn't been working up, she's just entering in. That's the nepotism. You get the position, not because of many of your qualities, but your name. And what is happening here is that she is the father that is retiring is 67 and she is 32. So imagine you are now changing a manager from 67 to a manager that is 32. It's a huge gap. It's almost a generational gap, or maybe 2-generation gap. That is not normally happening in Marxist corporations, normal corporations, because then you recruit someone else that is maybe 55 or something like that. You don't imagine to have a manager that is 67 and then you employ a new one that is 32. That is a huge generational gap. In family firm, it's quite normal because she's of the family. So then you get, she is now a modern, she knows everything about sustainability, so she's carrying sustainability into the firm. So she introduced new ideas in the firm, and it will be maybe much more oriented towards sustainability. On the other hand, the dark side of family firm is that she's carrying the idea or the history of the family, and this is the seventh generation, so it's a huge history thing to carry. So maybe that will make them less oriented towards sustainability because we have to do what the grandfather did. But I think that it's more on the more sustainability than the less sustainability. So this is an effect that you get in family firms and not in the Marxist ordinary capitalistic firms. So more sustainability because of generation. And then I have my own hypothesis. You're welcome to try it. If I have time, I will try to see if it's okay. Look here, we have the family structure. To the left, there is one person. We call it the entrepreneur, the one that starts the firm. It's an entrepreneur, and maybe they could be oriented towards sustainability because, well, it's a demand of society. But then he gets a daughter. And the daughter grows up and she said that, well, I would like to take care of the corporation. Then the father says things that, now I have to invest for the future. I have to make sure that my daughter can take over the corporation. So he will become more long-term oriented than he was before, and probably also then oriented towards sustainability. And then the daughter gets a daughter. And then the father sees, wow, now we have one more generation, and that will increase his time horizon even more. So my hypothesis is that when you get more of the generations involved in a family firm, you will get a more long-term oriented actions in a family firm, and probably therefore also more sustainability actions. And this happens to be in order to show that family firm is an antique form. This is our king. To the right, the king called 16 Gustav, and his daughter, Crown Princess Victoria. So when the king will retire or die, she will become the queen. And then the Crown Princess Victoria's oldest daughter is Princess Estelle. So she will become a Crown Princess Estelle when her mother is queen. So this is antique form, eh? You have a president. You are a modern country. We are not a modern country. We have a monarchy. Maybe our monarchy works better than yours. So it's no wrong with antique forms, as long as it is well fitted to the modern society. And I think that our thing is, and Crown Princess Victoria, she is really the queen of sustainability. She is running around and talking endlessly of sustainability. And therefore also, if you look at Princess Estelle, she's sitting on a small horse riding. Of course, she has a helmet. That's also sustainability. So I think that since it's a family firm, if you have the family structure will influence how you act. And if you have a huge family, more generations, you will be more long-term and you will be more prone to act according to sustainability. The second effect of nepotism, that is because nepotism says that you pick people from the family, not outside the family. And at least in Sweden, there is a 48% probability of getting a female child. We men, we are always a little bit higher on probability because we drive cars and die more, so we are in a little bit more need, but there is a 48% probability in Sweden to have a female child. That means that there will be a rather even distribution of males and females. And even if we are in Sweden with our gender equality, we have tendency to promote people like me, because I can stand up when I'm at the toilet or something. And females are not reaching the highest positions, even if we are extremely on the level of equality. But the family firms, they don't care about the equality, they care about the family, they care about the succession. Someone has to take care of the family firm. And in my example of my PhD student, there are 2 kids, she and then her older brother. Her older brother lives in Switzerland, and he would never consider to go back home to Sweden. And my PhD student, she thinks that, it would be nice now to test my idea. So she is now the top manager of the family firm. And she is recruited, not because she is a woman, but because she is of the family. And then she happens to be a woman. So when you look at family firms, there is a tendency that they have more females, both on the board and on the top management teams. It's not because they have a gender idea to recruit. No, they have the nepotistic idea of recruiting. So they pick whoever is interested in the family. And it's of no concern, at least not in Sweden, if it's a woman or a man. So therefore there's a higher probability to get females in family firms. And then, as you know, females, they are more interested in sustainability. They are buying more eco food. They always score very low on what's called corruption. I had one student that did a study about the Swedish banks. Swedish banks have a problem with washing money. And they had only one recommendation: stop employing men, just employ women, because women are less corruptible. They will follow the rules much more because they are like this, like an Excel sheet. And we found that also, and then I've done studies about idealism, the ethical values of idealism, and women are always scoring higher. Females are always more idealistic than men, of some reason. So, if you get more females, since females are more green, they're more focused on sustainability, you will get more sustainability in those corporations. That is my hypothesis. Show me wrong. However, now I have been preaching the hallelujah of family firm. Never forget Karl Marx. And he said that, no, family firms, they are no good. They are risk averse. They don't take so many risks because they don't want to lose the corporation, because the corporation is the La Familia. So if you are low on business risk, then you tend to be low on innovation. So family firms tend to be a lower capacity to innovate. They have a very high liquidity. They have a low debt to equity in order to keep their freedom, which also restrain them from doing more risky investments. They are conservative, as I said. It's an antique form, because they are carrying the tradition of the founders and the old generations. They could also be a very successful corporation, and therefore they get this threat of the prison of success. If you have made something that was a success, you think that's the way to make business, and then you continue to do this business, although it's not successful in the future. We have an example in Sweden, H&M. If you buy clothes at H&M, it is a family firm, totally dominated by a family. They have had their success, and now they are experiencing problems, and they are trying to change the business model, but it's really hard because it has been carried by 2 generations, and now it's the 3rd generation. And then you have the paternalist. Paternalist sounds very nice. You get the low level of turnover of employees, but that means also that you get very old staff, and maybe conservative staff also. So maybe this part of family firms, according to the Marxist idea of the good capitalistic firm, will turn them to a slower process of sustainability. And there are some studies that shows that family firms are very good at sustainability or they are very bad. They are never in between. So they could be they're really avant-garde, but they could also be very conservative. So that is, conservative is when you stress these things. When you are in the avant-garde is when you stress the other things that I talked about. And then I have a thing about how you get sustainability into the corporation. This, maybe you cannot see it, so I'm sorry that I show it. This is if you look at the top, it's the family. The family consists of kin relationships, father, mother, the child, and the grandchildren, and all these things. These are the people that are available for the family firm, that you could put out in the family firm and work in the family firm. So it's the family with its kin nepotism and its generational nepotism, that you take care of your generations. Then on the bottom is the firm, where you have who are the owners, who is on the board, who belongs to who is the CEO and the top management team, and then who is working in the organization. And I have the idea that you can see how the family is sending out their individuals into the firm to achieve ownership, to be a board member. That is the nepotistic impregnation of the family firm. And there are some studies that indicate that if you impregnate the firm more with the family, that is, more family members are in the firm, it will get more success, it will be more long-term, and there was one study I saw that they invest more in sustainability actions if there is more impregnation of the family. So a family business, that it call itself family business, but it's not impregnated by the family, it's maybe only ownership. That is not really a family firm. A real family firm is a family firm when you send out all the members and they impregnate the firm. So more impregnation, more sustainability. That is also a hypothesis. I don't have any data. That's for my PhD students to take care of. So I would say that I have presented these ideas about family firm, and it's only hypothesis. Well, there are some empirical support that family firm is an antique form. It's not postmodern, it's not even modern, it's antique. And therefore, it fits very well to the conservative ideas of sustainability. So therefore, they are more prone to sustainability. And if this is the case, now I come to more policy things. Maybe it could be the way that sustainability could be a method also to develop, to secure a family firm. So if family firm promotes sustainability actions, maybe you can get the other way around, that sustainability actions will promote the family characteristics of the firm. So if you have a family firm, maybe you should do more of sustainability things, maybe not because you are so interested in sustainability or your markets ask for it, but it will strengthen the family character of the family firm. So maybe sustainability is a management technique in a family firm. I think that is a beautiful conclusion. I don't hear any applause, but okay. And then finally, so my conclusion, what I've tried to argue for is that it is a governance model. The family firm, in these characteristics that I've shown you, is a governance model. It's an antique model, and therefore it fits well to sustainability, and therefore I will expect family firms to be more successful in sustainability than other firms. And then I also think that it could be a management tool in family firms to strengthen the familyness of the family firm. So, thank you very much. Now I run, because I expect you to fire me.
Thank you, Sven. Thank you very much. I loved your presentation for your not conformist position and for the provocation. I think always, and the students of our PhD, they know that I push them, I boost them to think differently from the mainstream, etc. And our country, Italy, is one of the countries in which family firms are very important and very powerful. Just yesterday I was speaking about the case of the family Ferrero, Nutella. The family Ferrero has not debt. They don't take money from banks, never. They are always investing with cash flow. It's incredible. They are not really producing everything in a sustainable way. They are using palm oil and plastic, but really are what you described. And thank you for the amazing and the provoking presentation. So I ask for some comments or questions from you.
Thank you. Do you also support the family farm that CEO and next CEO will be the family, but all other employer not family? Yeah, I mean the example, the big company. So the next head of the company is also my children, but all other employer is not my family. But I take care about my company well because that my company's sustainability is just all up to my children. So some of the parts that you said probably applied, but for the usual employee, maybe not.
No. Well, as far as I know, there is one study that has studied this thing about impregnation and the correlation to sustainability, and they found a small, significant positive correlation. If there are more from the family in the firm, then there will be more sustainability. But if you have only one or two, then it's really not a family firm. So I just said about H&M, we consider it as a family firm, and that is why, because the father is the chairman, and it happens to be that the son was so competent that he got the CEO-ship of the firm. So it's, in that sense, it's really a family firm. And they are scoring very high on sustainability, but that's maybe not because of the family. So I don't know about really the empirical life. We have to do these kind of studies, because I think there is something more family in the business, more sustainable actions. But that's a hypothesis.
Hi, I want to ask if you have any clue or ideas if the managing boards or managers, CEOs in the family firms, if they have any official management or entrepreneurship educations, or just learn by doing? Based on your experiences, I don't know if you have any.
I don't have any data. We haven't done this study. I will ask now. I have some friends that are doing studies in entrepreneurship, if that is the case. Normally, in the large corporations, really large corporations, they tend to send their kids to Harvard. So they get this stamp that, yes, we are well educated, therefore we are capable of running the corporation. In the smaller businesses, I don't sense that there is any education. They are not even educated in my field. Accounting or business administration, they can do whatever, and then maybe they don't even have a university degree, because they have been working their whole life in the corporation. But I think that in large corporations, because large corporations, they are more like Marxist corporations, they have to have this legitimacy. And you don't get legitimacy by working your whole life in the corporation. You get the legitimacy by being at Harvard 2 years and then go home. And therefore, I expect that the large family businesses, they tend to have university-trained, especially US-trained family members. Small corporations, no, they don't need that kind of legitimacy or knowledge.
Hi, very, very interesting and provocative presentation. I was just wondering if you have any thought about the relation between family firms and intergenerational social mobility. Because the other side is that having family firms, it seems to me that can like prevent social mobility across generation if there is a very high percentage of family firm owned. So I was just thinking about this other side of sustainability. If this is something that can...
What do you mean, intergenerational?
I mean, if you have a family, I mean, and you are just passing the control of the firm across generation,
yeah.
Basically the same family will have like economic power.
Yes.
While if it is a different form of management, it can be like more mixed, given more opportunities to family that has not an heritage of a firm. So I don't know. I don't know anything about this, but I was just wondering if you had thought about this side.
I don't know if I'm responding on your question, but I found in two family corporations very interesting thing, because if you have a family, then the next generation will be larger. The next, so you will get many people that would like to be to get these higher positions. So then you run the risk of having a huge conflict within the family, because you would like to get on the top. Those two that I found, I thought they were very successful, because what they did was they cut off half of the family, saying that you are not in the family firm anymore. So there were 3 brothers in one corporation. 2 of the brothers, they said, ciao and goodbye, we are leaving, because we realized that if we are staying, that will create generational conflicts. So we are leaving, so then there is only this small family, and those people, they can get position in the corporation. So that was one trick to just get rid of part of the family. And in another family, they have the tradition, it's very clear, they have had it now for 4 generations, that they pinpoint 2 people. They are the ones that are going to take over the family firm. The rest, they can do whatever, but they are not there. So they are pointed out very early in their lives. Could you imagine, and it's the Wallenberg family, the huge financial family in Sweden, similar to your Agnelli family. Could you imagine when you are 5 years of age, the great grandfather say, you and you will be the ones that takes over. That is quite a responsibility, because they control 5 or 6 of the largest international corporations. I'm sure that that was not an answer to your question, but that indicates that I didn't understand it. I can explain later.
Other comments?
And then there is another thing with family firms that I cannot understand, because if you are like me, not of a family, when you enter into a family business, you know that I will never become the CEO, because it will always be him or her from the family. How do you create incentives to work like an idiot when you know that I will never become the boss? So there should be some incentive problems in family firms, but obviously they succeed, because they are when we make measurements even of profit, they are very profitable in Sweden. They have higher profit than non-family business in this middle range. So they are doing good, even in capitalistic terms.
So if we have no comments before to have the break and our coffee, I want to close thanking Sven. Just remembering what one disturbing contribute from Lee Robert White. Lee Robert White was an historian from United States, California, and during the 60s he was writing about the ecological crisis of Western countries, and he was thinking that one of the reasons of our unsustainable system is the problem of our democracy. And this thought of Lee White is really disturbing, because how we can consider that unsustainability is a product of our democracy. And this is a provocation, of course, as Sven did, I think, this morning, just speaking in the Republican area of Europe about monarchies and about families, etc. But I think that it's important to have this kind of doubts in our mind. Thank you very much.